Edward III, from the mighty house of Plantagenet, is King of England. His reign is defined by military triumphs during the 100 Years' War and a rare period of internal stability. Yet beneath this surface of strength, a dynastic storm is brewing. The premature death of his eldest son, Edward of Woodstock, the Black Prince, in 1376 creates a succession crisis, placing the crown in the hands of his young and untested grandson, Richard of Bordeaux. This succession bypasses Edward III's surviving sons, Lionel of Antwerp, Duke of Clarence, John of Gaunt, Duke of Lancaster, Edmund of Langley, Duke of York, and Thomas of Woodstock, Duke of Gloucester, all experienced and politically powerful men. Although they accept Richard's accession, their descendants would later compete bitterly for the throne. The decision to crown the 10-year-old Richard of Bordeaux, rather than one of his capable uncles, set the stage for a dynastic struggle that would erupt decades later in the brutal civil conflict known as the Wars of the Roses. Edward III had 5 sons. The eldest, Edward of Woodstock, known to history as the Black Prince, was a brilliant military commander and the king's chosen heir. The second, Lionel of Antwerp, Duke of Clarence, would become the root of the future Yorkist claim. The third son, John of Gaunt, Duke of Lancaster, fathered Henry Bolingbroke, who would later seize the crown for himself and become Henry IV. The fourth, Edmund of Langley, Duke of York, founded the House of York, which would later rise in rebellion against Lancaster. And the fifth, Thomas of Woodstock, Duke of Gloucester, who would die under mysterious circumstances during the reign of his nephew. The future of this powerful family began to fracture in 1376 when the Black Prince died of illness just 1 year before his father. He left behind a 10-year-old son, Richard, who now stood next in line for the throne. When Edward III died in 1377, the child was crowned King Richard II. Though born into a great legacy, he inherited a fragile realm, one still embroiled in the 100 Years' War and divided by the ambitions of his powerful uncles. Too young to rule alone, Richard was surrounded by a regency council dominated by his uncles, John of Gaunt of Lancaster and Thomas of Woodstock, Duke of Gloucester. Though they governed in his name, each harboured ambitions of their own. The death of the Black Prince had removed the most stabilising force in the royal family, and the boy king was left at the mercy of political intrigue. As Richard grew older, he struggled to assert authority over his court. Tensions grew between the king and a group of nobles, known as the Lords Appellant, who opposed the influence of Richard's favourites and sought to curb royal excess. Among them was Henry Bolingbroke, son of John of Gaunt. In 1387, they rose in open defiance. The Lords Appellant forced Richard into submission and briefly seized control of the government, humiliating the king and diminishing his authority. But Richard, no longer a child, plotted his return to power. In 1397, he struck back. The king arrested and executed several of the Lords Appellant, restoring his dominance. His uncle, Thomas of Woodstock, Duke of Gloucester, who was also part of the Lords Appellant, ended up dead in this purge, dying under suspicious circumstances. While imprisoned at Calais, many believed Richard had ordered his murder. This act of vengeance alienated the nobility and cast a shadow over his rule. His increasingly autocratic behaviour, combined with his disregard for the traditional rights of the aristocracy, sowed the seeds of rebellion. In 1399, the death of John of Gaunt set off a new crisis. As Gaunt's son, Henry Bolingbroke was entitled to inherit the vast Lancastrian estates. But Richard, wary of Bolingbroke's growing influence, seized the lands for the crown and exiled Henry to France, an act seen by many as a tyrannical overreach. Bolingbroke would not stay in exile. In 1399, with Richard absent in Ireland, Henry returned to England. Though he claimed he only sought his inheritance, his ambitions quickly grew. Supported by discontented nobles and commoners alike, Bolingbroke marched on London. Richard's support crumbled, and he was captured and imprisoned. On October 1, 1399, Richard was deposed. Henry Bolingbroke ascended the throne as Henry IV, establishing the Lancastrian dynasty. This marked a turning point in English history. The unity of the Plantagenet line shattered, and the seeds of civil war were sown, as the rival branches of Lancaster and York prepared to fight for supremacy in the decades to come.